Hi everyone, it's Justina from Investigative Sophism. Welcome or welcome back. And hey, let's jump into today's topic. And that topic is something that's so important in life, but not very often deconstructed, or deconstructed enough, I would say. And that is a very simple question when you think about it. How to be a good listener. Or, let me rephrase it, how to listen deeply. You might have heard of deep listening as a concept, and I myself, I am a fan. Do I do that always? Oh no, because it's so difficult, but that's why I think it's so important to deconstruct it and to see, okay, what are the steps? Like, how do I become a better listener, assuming that this is what you want to become? And I hope that you think that, yeah, that's a really cool area to be improving in your life, and there's so many amazing benefits, like being a better friend, being a better life partner, I guess being, I assume, a better parent, a better colleague. So why not to jump into that? So let me do that today. So I want to present you a couple of frameworks or a couple of suggestions from different disciplines, mostly from just psychology, Buddhist psychology, and very specifically nonviolent communication, which is a really cool discipline that I really like. I think it's revolutionary, and it's at the same time very difficult to implement. Like, it doesn't sound sort of natural at first, but when you do get it, I think it can do miracles. But so, a couple of suggestions are just like where to start, right? So I think if we take especially just like Buddhist psychology, if we think of mindfulness, then it is all about, to use that language, creating that or expanding that space, creating that window of tolerance, right? So it's kind of someone's saying something to you is not really to rush into that responding, but to allow yourself to focus on the listening itself. I know it sounds very basic, like, okay, I think you're just describing listening, but so often, right? Oh my goodness, all of us, right? You listen. Let me tell you what I think, right? And like, that's so natural. Like, so that's something we have to fight, so to speak. So it's like, okay, can I just actually focus on the listening itself? Can I train myself to think, okay, don't think about your response, just allow yourself to actually listen. Hopefully without too much judgment and rushing into anything. So this is, I guess, what Buddhist psychology would say. At the same time, psychology in general would advise you to, to respond instead of react. So once again, you expand that space from which you will be responding, and instead of jumping into something defensive, right, you kind of not allow your maybe instincts to respond, but you think, okay, how would I really like to respond to what the person is saying if I'm listening deeply, right? So I know it seems like I'm talking more about responding than listening, but I think if we do jump into responding, and sometimes quite defensively, that messes up the whole listening experience as well. So obviously they are very connected. So, okay, am I responding or am I reacting? When I look back at some situation, do I think, yeah, I showed up really well, I showed up in accordance to my values, or was I kind of just, did I just kind of attack this person? Ooh, right, so I hope that I was responding, I wasn't reacting, so another thing to keep in mind. And another very practical tip, which is very also easy to forget, is can we, before our interaction with someone, can we set the intention? We might be setting the intention for our days, like how you start the day, and why not to set intention for a specific interaction? Or we can have a very general intention, like I'm here to, to listen. I'm here not to respond right away, at least, right? That's maybe a part of intention. I'm here to learn what this person has to say, and to like really try to appreciate this person's presence in general, right? So can we set an intention that sets the whole conversation and our listening just to be a bit more productive? Yeah, it's like, what's my intention here? Am I just here to tell about my things, or can I be mindful about the very intention? Like how I'm listening, but also when you think about it, I guess it's why I'm listening. Like, can we actually start with that? Like, I'm here to learn, I'm here to understand, because otherwise I'm not really getting anything new, right? If I'm just saying my things, I know my things, I know how I think, and obviously there's value of expressing that. I'm not telling you not to be the real you, not to talk about the things that actually matter to you, like no. But okay, like that can also happen in a conversation, but first, can I learn something from this person? Like, can I assume that there's something valuable for me to know? And why not to set that kind of intention? And then lastly, I wanted to go to nonviolent communication. Oh yeah, what a cool discipline. Check it out. There are obviously plenty of books and really cool courses you can, if that's something that you find it sounds interesting to you, I would say go for it. It can be literally life-changing. Also difficult to implement, but I guess many things in life are difficult for a reason. I think nonviolent communication is one of them. But so one of the elements of that discipline is the distinction between a need and a strategy. So and it says that very often we're taught to be communicating our strategies and not our needs. So for example, someone says, you didn't call me on time yesterday, what the hell? And okay, that might set you in a very defensive position, depends on how you are, I guess, in general. But so we can ask, okay, so what's the need underneath? So needs are something that we all have, and we have different strategies that can meet those needs. So for example, you not calling me on time didn't meet my need of feeling significant maybe, or cared for, right? So I have that need, I always have that need, I always want to feel a bit significant and cared for and loved. And there are different strategies, different ways how that need is met, right? So when we communicate, very often we don't say, I have this need, and by doing this or not doing this, you actually didn't meet that need. It would be very weird to say. That's why nonviolent communication, it does have its own language. It's like a different language really when you think about it. Anyway, sometimes okay, so you might think, okay, so that's the strategy. And if I want to, so if I'm listening a bit more deep, a bit more mindfully, I create that space, right? Can I identify sort of quickly as I'm in the conversation, what the actual need is? And then can I address that need? Instead of talking about, oh, sorry about, the strategy I was using. Can you say, can you think, I can see how me not having done that would make the person feel like this. There's a need that wasn't addressed. That's why the person is not happy, right? So if you listen carefully, if you listen deeply, can you, on the spot, or retrospectively, maybe later on, you can come back to that person and say, hey, I realized that, this need wasn't met. But on the spot, if you can do that, oh my God, that's great. It's so difficult. Do I do that myself? Not often, honestly, but I try to keep it in mind, right? It's a practice, it's a skill that we can learn. So I think it really changes conversation so significantly for the better if you say, I'm sorry, that was, bad on me, and I understand that, this didn't address the needs that you have. So the person really feels then that he or she is being listened to deeply, if you're paying attention, right? So what's the need underneath the strategy, and can we talk about the needs? If once again, if we're listening deeply, if we're listening mindfully, I think it really opens that opportunity for us to talk about the needs. You obviously you can still talk about the strategies, but we can connect to someone on a much deeper level. And so I know today I told you quite a lot of things, tips / where to go from here, and these are, I know, good ideas, but they're also practices. And obviously the first step is for us to be aware that, this is, okay, if I want to be a better listener, assuming that I don't think I'm this, I'm that's it, nothing for me to improve. There are always things you can improve, and communication, oh my God, such an area of improvement for all of us, right? So I hope that you use, the tips that I gave you today, or just some ideas. I hope they can get stuck in your head, in a good way, not like a bad song. Oh no, that would be horrible. I hope you were listening deeply to what I was saying, because these are really, they seem like maybe small things, but they can be if you apply them, like many things in life, they can be really powerful. Even just one thing that for me personally, learning about nonviolent communication, is oh my God, yeah, I'm not taught like this. That's not how I naturally speak and communicate. And it really, in a really cool way, it messes with your mind, with your brain, oh, I could be noticing these things, and this is very interesting. So I hope you find it interesting as well. And I know in this video, I was talking a lot about, this is how you respond, this is how you respond. And actually I have another video coming for you where I talk about empathetic responses. Okay, if we're good listeners, let's say if we're listening a bit more carefully, how does that show? What does it look like in our responses then? That's a big deal. Okay, deep listeners, that's cool. And that has intrinsic value in itself. But we can say, so what? Like, what is that? So how do we proceed? Where do we go from there? So I hope you check that video out as well. I hope you enjoyed, and have a nice day. Be a good listener, be a good communicator. It's tough but worth it. And I'll see you soon.